someone to kind of do those other bits and pieces. But what I would advise, if people are going to do it, don't do the same things, because you're just wasting. Hello. Trying to get Jim in. He's struggling with the link at the moment.
Right, okay.
Sophie's in. Good morning.
Morning.
Are you all right?
Yeah, you?
Oh, hello.
Yes,
you okay?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, good. Good.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thank you. Yeah, I've just got out of bed. I'm only coming on for half an hour because I've got to get ready for work.
That's cool. I would imagine that
yeah,
it's probably not going to be a full hour. I would imagine. I don't think, because I don't have much content to talk about. So I've got a few questions, but anyway.
Oh, well, we'll have to make it up as we go along then.
Well, we could do. Yeah, exactly. We could do. I've just sent a link off to Jim, so he'll be joining soon anyway. How was your last couple of weeks?
Shit. It's been awful.
Fucking shit.
Yeah. Well, I did all right. You know, when I did the first round of you know, the 99p auctions to get stuff cleared.
Yeah.
I did okay with that first lot. And then I thought, right, I'll put stuff on for like, you know, a second week. A few bits went. But things for like, you know, buy it now just hasn't been selling. Poshmark's gone down a little bit, which is expected anyway.
The hype,
you know, because people have all spent their credit and everything now, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it has been. I just don't know. But I spoke to eBay about this before, like, you know, before I started that 99p auction thing.
Yeah.
And I said I got in contact with eBay, and just, yeah, they're just not very like helpful. But things haven't changed. No, just things haven't really like changed. I just don't really. I still don't really know, you know, what I'm doing.
One of the questions that I've got today really is about how can we rank higher on eBay anyway, so we can talk about that a bit later before you drop off in about half an hour. How about you, Sharon?
This week's been quite good, actually. Yeah, I did about £350, which is quite on par for me.
That's good.
The week before, though, because I went away for 4 days, and yeah, that was terrible. I did put it in holiday mode and put on that, you know, people can still actually buy, but yeah, I didn't get any sales while I was away. But as soon as I took the holiday mode off, boom, I'd got 4 sales.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you do like put it on holiday mode and then restart it again, it kind of bumps you up the list, I think.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this week's been good.
That's one thing I'm a bit worried about, actually, because I'm gonna have to go on holiday mode, because I'm obviously I'm going away traveling, aren't I, from the 22nd of June, so I'm gonna be gone for like a couple of weeks or so. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about putting my store on holiday mode because it's performing so poorly now.
Yeah.
And then putting it on holiday mode and then trying to get it back going again after. I'm a bit worried about it, to be fair.
It might be a boost that it needs, though.
Yeah,
I've heard stories where they put it on holiday mode and essentially when they restart it again, it goes nuts. So it could be.
Where are you going, Sophie?
Well, my brother's getting married in Germany, so going to the Black Forest. But then I'm going back to Switzerland with him and his wife then for a few nights, and then I'm going to Zurich and get an overnight train from Zurich to Vienna, staying there for a couple of nights, then getting a train from Vienna to Prague, and then staying there for a couple of nights.
And a European tour.
Yeah. So yeah, doing a little bit of traveling.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Good stuff. Morning, Jim.
Sorry I'm late, everyone.
That's all right. Did the link work that I just give you? Is it a separate link?
Yes, it did. Yeah, I think I had saved the wrong one in my calendar.
Or I probably set up a different one for a recurring one that you probably hadn't received.
Oh, maybe. Either
Yeah,
way, I'll take the blame.
Nice accountability. How was your last couple of weeks? Well, since you was last on, how have they been for you?
Good, always good, because I haven't had any interaction with eBay, which is always a good thing. Yeah, I've bought and sold a few bits, but I'm not sure if I told you last time, I've kind of switched to buying a few bits, then selling them on to resellers at quite a thin margin. So
yes, you did say that last time.
De-stressing myself from the eBay part of things by just buying things incredibly cheap and then selling them on at a slight profit to myself, but still allowing there to be enough room for profit to be made by other people. So
nice.
It means that way it's kind of a win-win for myself and the people I sell things to.
Yeah.
Which is good. So yeah, I only had one interaction on eBay in the last week, and that was as a buyer, but that was equally weird.
Nice one.
What kind of things, Jim, what kind of things do you buy and sell?
All sorts really, but mainly consumer electronics, video cameras and VCRs, DVD, VCR combis, a lot of end user electronics, cameras, a lot of things that kind of tend to go really cheap, because I think a lot of people shy away from them because of the kind of electronic testing side of you. But I think there's a and a lot of it gets sold really cheap, just because of it's all kind of outdated technology. Find the old, other than the kind of real retro thing, Betamax players, I think people realize are kind of worth a load of money because they're that old. But I think there's a lot of money in old camcorders. I've done really well with over the last sort of 2 or 3 years.
Brilliant. Yeah, I do tend to shy away from electronics. Yeah,
it wasn't really what I kind of got into the game to do, to be honest with you. But it's so easy, I think, to be honest with you. I started on clothing, to be honest with you, but I think I'm just too lazy, really. And I was I don't know, kind of wiggled my way into here because I feel like it's a bit easier money, but it's good. I mean, it works well because it's what the people I sell to buy, and it just means that there's, I don't know, it's quite an easy transaction. I'll typically buy things for sort of £5 to £15. I look to sell them on for sort of 25 to 40. So it's just an easy £20 note every item I sell, more or less. Which is easy because there's never a return, never a quibble about negotiation, never a lowball offer. It's kind of removes the arseholes out of the equation, to be honest. So it works for me right now, and I'm kind of sort of semi-retired from reselling, to be honest. I moved house and kind of got rid of all of my stock and wasn't really sure I was going to start again. So this is kind of a little bit of step back into it without having to dive headfirst into eBay, because I think unless you really go for it, it's difficult to do well on eBay, because so much of your performance relates to your activity. And when you do it part-time, it's tough to get the ball rolling, because you might only be uploading a couple a day or even a couple a week, and then it's difficult to get that snowball moving in the right direction to where you want it to be, and it can be incredibly frustrating. So I think actually where I'm at now means that if I want to take a month off, it doesn't affect the rest of what I'm doing. So it's it works for me. It works for me, but I think.
So where are you selling all this stuff then, Jim?
Sorry, when was I?
Where are you selling all your stuff then, if you're not really using eBay?
So really onto resellers that are going to sell it onto eBay.
Just purely onto resellers.
Yeah. So I've mainly got 2 or 3, really 2 main two main resellers that I'll just kind of hoard up over a few weeks, hoard up a few items, then we'll just send them a picture and say, here's what I've got, here's what I'm looking for. And then meet up, and then quick kind of boot to boot drug deal, and then that's it. It's
well, that's essentially it, isn't
dodgy
it?
dealings in the lay-by.
yeah, it's meeting in some various service stations and handing over 15 VCRs.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? If they know exactly what you're going to give them, and they know that it's not been tested, right, or it might have a pat test on it, all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, well, it's easy sourcing for them. Some of the stuff, and I think if you're fair as well, most of the times, if I'm like, you might buy a camcorder for like, say, between 5 and 15 quid, I would look to sell that for probably 30 to 40 quid, with a view that someone's going to sell that on for maybe 80 to 100 pounds. There's plenty left in it for someone else, but equally, you've got to acknowledge that there's a risk there, because I think I'm quite understanding, because that there's inherent risk on eBay of return, of all of the issues with sending parcels and distance selling. So I think I try and leave enough meat on the. If I was trying to sell something for 50, 60 quid that someone could sell for 100, there's not going to be in it. So I think I'm trying to pitch myself at a price that is attractive for both people, and it saves someone else. I'm doing someone else's sourcing for them as well, so it's quite a good symbiotic relationship.
So if you went from like 5 to 15 or 15 to 30, you've essentially tripled and doubled your money, and then that reseller could do exactly the same, right?
Absolutely. They're probably going to make a bigger margin, but I have so little risk compared to them. And it's really fair. I test as much as I can, but equally everything's sold with a kind of, look, if this comes back as faulty thereafter, you bought it sort of sold as seen. So it's so low risk for me that actually, if I just make 15, 20 quid an item, and also there's no issues for me in terms of activity. Sometimes I might not speak to the same guys for weeks. Other times I might say, look, I've picked up loads of bits. I might see them twice a week, and then it's better for them, because the more they see me, the more they're making money. So it's it's good. Yeah, exactly. It's good. And I was when I was kind of at the height of what I was doing, I was quite close to that. Do I dive into this full time? Do I look at going part time in my normal job, etc. And I think there's just inherent risks of just doing eBay, right? I think we all know that, and that eBay can kind of pull the rug. Getting good on eBay and higher rated as a seller, like, it's a bit of a dark art, isn't it? And I think that kind of lack of control over your main income source was always a bit of a worry for me. So this is fine, it's kind of a pocket money thing for me, and it's a model that I quite like for me right now. Not to say that I wouldn't review that in the future. I don't think it works for everyone, but
it works for you. I mean, it's up to you, isn't it? If it works for you, then that's great. I mean, well done.
That's it.
That kind of segues into the question I had earlier, was how can we rank higher on eBay? Because you kind of like just touched on the point there, didn't you, about like having to be consistent and all that sort of stuff. But I think to do well on eBay, you have to be listing essentially every day, right? You have to have at least minimum, I'd say maybe, if you want to do well on eBay 4 or 5 every day, consistent every day. Best photos and more photos. They've upped it to 24 now, I think, haven't they? The title has to essentially use up most of the characters to give, because I put all of my characters, everything that I want to say is in the title. That obviously automatically gets populated down into description, but I don't add anything to that, and I probably should. So I think the more you put in your description as well, the easier it's going to be, and the search engine and things like that. Competitive pricing. Are you in line with other listings? Essentially, if you're too pricey, are eBay going to rank you higher or lower than ones that are competitive? I don't know. yeah, I mean, how do you guys think that you can rank higher on eBay, essentially?
I think you just said it in a nutshell.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I've got top rated seller, and I had this email through saying become a top rated seller plus, which I haven't even like read or anything yet. But I mean, I've had so many like crappy returns over the last couple of weeks as well, which is really annoying because I don't know how that's going to affect my top rated seller status. But at the same time, even though I've got that, I've noticed no difference in, you know, anything. And I think probably the only thing, DENZ, that I slightly disagree with what you've said is on the listing. I think really actually you've got to be putting like 10 new items on a day.
Maybe,
to be honest.
yeah.
4 or 5 like isn't quite enough.
Not going to cut it, I suppose.
I know some people do that, but you know, I did like a draft bank for like a week of 4 or 5 new items every day. So I was putting that on and then doing 5 sell similars as well as the 5 new items.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I didn't notice a hell of a lot of difference really. It's a really hard thing to crack, and you go through times where, you know, you'll make like hundreds in a week and then you might only make 100 or 50 or something, and then you'll go back to doing a couple of hundred. And it's just really hard to get it like, yeah, it's really hard to work out how to make that like, you know, consistent for you.
Yeah,
that's the bit I'm struggling with.
Since becoming top rated, I've had slight record months, if that makes sense. So like when I could become top rated, when Caroline was with us, we hit 2K. Then I hit 2,100 in March, April, and then we hit 2,200 last month. So slight increases, is obviously going in the right direction. But for me, I think I'm too inconsistent. I mean, last week I didn't put anything on because of school holidays. I had to look after the kid. But
did that affect the sales?
Pardon?
Sorry, did that affect your sales then if you didn't put anything on last week?
Last week I had £200 days, but it was 30, 40, 50. I had a £10 that was on Saturday. Weekends are normally quite good for me, but a £10 Saturday and £111 Sunday.
So I used to find weekends were like really good for me, and that was where I'd make the bulk of my money for the week. But I just don't last like months, 6 weeks or so. I genuinely just don't know what it is. I just can't, and I can't seem to find it out either. I just don't know what it is.
The thing is, if you're going to list more, you got to source more, which obviously takes more time, right? But yeah, just going back, like previous weekend, I had a £96 Friday, 0 Saturday, and 114 Sunday. But I'm up over the last 31 days. I'm up 11.5%. So I suppose you've got to look at it in the long run. But yeah, I mean, last week wasn't as consistent as the week before. But I'm like kind of like doing 2 or 3 days a week of 30 plus listings. Maybe I should bank some of those listings and do 25 and then put 5 aside, or 20 and put 10 aside, ready for the next day. Maybe. But I
mean, I went to the car boot yesterday and I actually got like quite a good haul. And so tomorrow I'm off, Wednesday I'm off. So I'm literally just gonna like just list and just see how it, you know, see how it goes. Just literally put the whole of my 2 days off into that. Well, I've got a few bits off there. Because anything that I do sell on Vinted, I just buy stuff from Vinted with.
Okay, you just use that money. Good idea. What's the other ones I had? The other day, I had a customer who paid for his item but didn't realise that he couldn't use GSP in Germany for some reason. I'm pretty sure he could.
Right.
So he messaged me in German, right? So I had to translate it on Google Translate, right? Would you? This is quite funny. Would you reply in German, or would you reply back in English?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I mean, Google Translate's good, but it doesn't always make sense, like what it translates back. So I think, I mean, to be fair, because my brother's fiance's German. I mean, she speaks fluent English, but a lot of German people do know, like, you know, a basic level of English. So because it is like a world language.
Yeah.
And Europeans, they're far better. They're far less ignorant than we are, in the fact that we just speak English and that's it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, a lot of them do speak like other languages. So I think actually reply in English, because they've probably got more understanding and they could probably translate it a bit easier. And I'll tell you how Google Translate doesn't always work is that sometimes I get patients in who don't speak like any English whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I have to get my phone out and type in what I want to do or what I want to say, and then just show it to their face. And then sometimes they look back at me and go, no, because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't always translate properly.
Yeah, it takes it out of context, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'm a bit like, oh.
Well, I responded back in German.
Did you?
Yeah, I did respond back in German. Yeah, I just typed in what I wanted to say in English, and then obviously copied and pasted the German part. But I just thought it was quite funny what happened over the weekend. Oh, sorry, I've got a massive. I've had a cough all over the school holidays.
Oh, that's annoying.
Bloody children.
I think with Google Translate, like, it's good for like very simple phrases or very simple like words.
Yeah.
But like if you're trying to explain like a thing that's going to take like a couple of sentences, it doesn't.
Yeah,
exactly.
It doesn't work that well.
When I've sold anything through GSP, I always put a little, well, with any sale, I always put a little thank you note in. And I always use Google Translate and do it in their language.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but it's only, you know, a very, you know, quick, you know, thank you very much. Any problems, please let me know.
Do you print it out or do you write it out?
No, I print them out.
Okay.
I print it out and pop it on the invoice.
That's sweet.
I just had these in there with and the invoice. You can get them made up from Vistaprint. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I got mine. I just got little card for one of my. I just got like that, and then at the back, I've just got like a find us thing.
Yeah.
I just one of those then.
Nice.
I just put me on because I'm tight.
If I sell anything on Vinted though, I don't put it in, but everywhere else I do.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I mean, I've been so busy with childcare, so I'm like, I've got nothing, no questions, unless you guys have got something.
Oh, I was just going to moan about how I don't want to go to work, to be quite honest. That was it.
Have you got a long shift, Sophie? Is it a long one?
Only till 7:45, so it's fine. But then I am off for 2 days. This is like my last day now. But yeah, I was just going to moan about not wanting to go to work, really. Although I've got to go to I've got to go to the delivery office on my way because I've got a couple of POSHMARK bits to send out. But yeah, I'm kind of just looking forward to my days off, to be honest, just using it as a chance to kind of try and get things back on track.
Yeah.
And just doing, you know, loads of listings and stuff.
Well, this is my job today.
But, yeah.
That's my job down there.
Oh wow.
Oh, and my son's
You know when
Cheerios from. Go on.
DENZ, you know when you had Caroline with you?
Yeah.
Did you notice like a massive difference with her rather than now that you're on your own kind of thing?
From when she started, I was doing probably £500 to £700 a month in sales. 6 months led up to that, we got up to £2,000 a month.
Yeah.
So essentially, what it allowed me to do was, if I had a lot of bookkeeping work doing, she could go sourcing and come back. She could go sort, because like 2 charity shops are near where she lived, so like Newmarket and Mildenhall. So she lives in Newmarket, so she could pop to that one and then Mildenhall, and then come back with like 40-50 items for like £100 or whatever, and then she could sit here and list for a couple of days. And then like 1 or 2 days a week would go out together and do like 4 charity shops that like we do now, like I do now. But ultimately it was like she was consistently listing, and that grew from like 500 to 700 to 2,000. And I think because I'm constantly listing every week but not every day, essentially I've managed to maintain that level of 2,000, which is quite consistent now, which is nice. And I actually saw her on Saturday, and she goes, "How's it going?" I went, "eBay doesn't think you exist anymore, and I'm still doing £2,000," which is like, she's like, "For fuck's sake!" It's like, didn't need you anyway. But when she left, I basically had to create a schedule for myself. Otherwise, I would just get bogged down in like, I'll just do this 5-10 minutes, and then you just can't get out. Then can you? And I think it's helped now that Jack is now in full-time nursery. So essentially, I do have 6 to 7 hours a day that I can dedicate to reselling, which is helping. So I think if Jack wasn't in nursery, it would be a lot more difficult, and probably sales wouldn't be as good. But I managed to find it is actually quite consistent now. But I want to grow it. I want to get like, I want to lock up. I want a bigger place. I want an office and all that sort of jazz.
I'd love to get a storage unit, but I just can't like kind of afford one at the moment. But because I'm so fed up of my flat looking half like a warehouse and half like a flat, that I really want to, get it out and get my flat back, really, but it's just not possible at the moment.
Because I live in Cambridge, rent and that sort of just ridiculous. I'd have to go out of Cambridge. I mean, we built this office for about 3,500, me and my dad. And you'd be looking at £500 a month for a lockup. Easy.
Wow. That's a lot of money. So
that's why I've been trying to kind of sort out all of this area, so I don't do board games or anything like that anymore. And then I could take that rack down, and then I can have another 20 boxes that would then make it a bit more worthwhile, and hopefully be a bit more consistent with more listings. Because I'm stuck at about 1,600 now. What am I at? 1546 now.
See what I've done. I did that, the 99p auction stuff.
And
then I relisted it all for the following week as well. Anything that didn't sell the second time round, I've now left it off. And I'm transferring it all over to my POSHMARK to try and sell it there instead. Because it's all stuff I've had like so long. It's clearly just not going to sell there. Like, it's clearly just not selling there. So I've just been transferring it all over to my POSHMARK instead, because that helps me do consistent listings all the time on POSHMARK, whether I've got stuff to list or not. Because I just screenshot all the photos that was on eBay, copy and paste the title, and then just list it over there.
List it and leave it.
And then if it doesn't sell again, I think I'm just gonna have to cut a loss and just go to the charity shop and just dump all that and put it as a lesson learned, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I've noticed like a difference of there's no one to talk to, right? Which is one of the reasons why I hired her. Essentially, I was getting a bit lonely. But I've not noticed any dip in like sales performance, which is
that's good.
That is good. That is good.
It is good, but
I
if
mean,
I'd have
they
decided
also
to do
say
that
that-
without Caroline to start with, then I could have made more money for myself, essentially.
Yeah, but also you freed up your, you freed up your time to be able to do that by having Caroline, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
also they say that, it's not today you make your money, it's, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whatever, it's what you did, before, isn't it?
Yeah, of
so
course.
This is probably like a rolling effect from having her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think like, although like you say, like, you could have made more money for yourself, but at that point in time, you weren't doing those figures.
No, and we weren't doing clothing, and probably I wouldn't even kind of gone in that direction if she hadn't started. And the amount of stuff that I've learned, like what brands to look out for and things like that, just by picking up cool items, because we don't pick up plain items. Essentially, we pick up things that look a bit unique. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was definitely worthwhile having her, because
absolutely.
like I said to Laura, I was like, if I don't hire someone, I will regret it, regardless of whether it works or not. So yeah, I need to scratch that itch.
Yeah.
And who's to say that I won't hire anyone in the future? I mean, ultimately, I need to get to about 3,000 or 4,000 a month on eBay, and then getting a bigger place will be the next step.
Yeah.
Because I always treat it like a computer game, really. You need to upgrade everything. Yes. And it's definitely worthwhile having someone to kind of do those other bits and pieces. But what I would advise, if people are going to do it, don't do the same things, because you're just wasting. So someone could be listing and someone could be taking photographs or whatever, and just make sure you're doing different things, because there were times that me and Caroline would go out and there wasn't anything extra that I would see different than what she would have done. So that was just my time wasted.
Yeah.
So what we should have done at that point is that she should have gone to Sawston, I should have gone to Emmaus, and so we should have split up and spent the time that way. But that's just being a manager, I suppose, is finding out that stuff and managing workload. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's all like, things learned, or like, she could go outsourcing and then you could be at home listing, and then, vice versa, or, whatever.
Just do different things. Yeah.
It's just working out how do you, it's just how to get the most out of that situation, isn't it? It's how to get the most out of having someone there, and to make every, minute kind of work, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. What does she put on? So essentially, to the end of March, we managed to list about £38,000 worth of stuff.
Jesus.
That's like the buy it now price that we listed it for, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd have got anywhere near that if I was doing it on my own.
No.
No.
Have you considered
DENZ? Oh, sorry.
That's all right, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask DENZ if he's ever looked back at his, do you know, the videos when you very first started?
Yeah.
To where you are now.
I haven't.
I
daren't go that way. I don't want to do that.
Just to see how much, the business has grown, from when you very first started. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should have a look. I mean, I think it was about maybe £100 odd a week that was £100 or £200 a week, an hour in the fives. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, you had a question?
Have you ever considered or looked down the virtual assistant route? So I think if I was ever to take someone on well, it's kind of like a contract that you pay from afar. So there's a lot of
On the
people
VA.
that, yeah. There's a lot of guys out in the Philippines or India.
Yeah.
So I think if I were to take someone on, it would have probably been to do all the crap that I don't like. So listing and posting. And to be honest, actually, I was speaking to my dad this weekend, and he was like, "Oh, would you ever get back into it? Because I could work for you part time doing like listings and posting." And I'd be like, "Well, that'd be quite good because then you can save yourself for the kind of more skilled elements of the job, right?
Yeah,
The
of course.
sourcing and where you want to focus your time on the stuff that interests you, and where that's where you separate yourselves from the others, right? Because
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
no disrespect to anyone, but any idiot can package and post, and anyone can list, right? It's copy and
Yeah.
paste, a lot of typing. But I think given the costs, I think a VA would be useful if I were to expand any more.
Yeah.
From where I was, I would have probably looked at a VA just to bash out listings for me, because I used to find that really boring.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's like what would you? I would don't even know how that would work. I mean, would you basically drop a load of pictures in a file and they would essentially grab those?
Yeah, I know that. I know there was a guy who I was pretty friendly with in a reseller group, and he had quite a big clothing operation.
Yeah.
And he had a camera that used to take, when he took a photo of an item, it would upload automatically to a cloud that then, or into the cloud or whatever, that his VA then had access to.
Yeah.
And I think his VA was in the Philippines. I might be speaking out of turn here, so apologize to this guy in advance. But he would, of his day, would sit there, photographing whatever 100 items, and then when his VA came online, would then log in, have them all on the cloud, and then he, like, before each item, he would like put on a bit of paper, this is what it is, here are the sizings and measurements, and then his VA could take that and these photos that he could log into the cloud and then just bash out listings. And he was like he was a big user, he was like putting up like hundreds of listings a day just between him and a VA in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And it was dirt cheap. Not that I'm condoning any kind of slave labor, but it was like what he was paying this VA was peanuts.
Yeah. Not a bad idea. Definitely not a bad idea. Yeah, kind of like the whole idea that I had around having like almost like a warehouse that you'd have an office that attached to that with almost like a video recording room or a meeting room that people can sit around and have a chat, and then that are recorded, and then a bigger area that would have all the clothing stored up. So then I'll be doing exactly what I'm doing now, just on a bigger scale. So then there'd be more content coming out and all that sort of jazz. But ultimately, it's just me, and I'm restricted to me. So ideally, you'd want to kind of get a group together that would not really need the money, but they want to work on a project, and just grow it from there, really. I mean, I've thought about contacting colleges that are doing media, and that would come around and like have a camera essentially with me and create that content.
An apprenticeship might be useful,
essentially,
because you could take on an apprentice that can do like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Again, like what you pay an apprentice is pretty low. Obviously, you want to be fair to them, but if they're only like, most of them, it's like 130 to like £200 a week.
Yeah.
So again, like for 3 or 4 days full-time work. So if that's meaningful stuff, like there's a lot of business students that would be interested in that like are looking at some kind of to gain entrepreneurial experience. I think that would be. I was looking at that as well as a potential avenue to speak to a college to look at taking on, 1 or 2 apprentices. I think if you could make their time meaningful, and there's obviously a lot of general business skills, I think that would be good, because then you've got someone who's like young and hungry. Because I think obviously as an individual reseller, you need to keep your costs to an absolute minimum, right, and not try and overcommit. I think particularly when your income is not guaranteed, like overstretching yourself is is a really dangerous game, I think.
Mhm.
Obviously you want to expand as much, but I think you need to do it in a really conservative way. I think something else that is worth exploring, like I always toyed with it, or I thought it'd be a really cool idea, but I think there's potentially some pitfalls, would almost be like forming a cooperative of resellers.
Yeah.
So let's say you had like 3 or 4 other resellers in your area, and we said, look, why don't we all commit to getting this space together? We've split the rent 4 ways, and we've got combined storage units. We'll each have our individual eBay accounts and work in it, and you could almost de-risk yourself by having 4 accounts, 4 incomes covering this. So if you had a bad month, well, it doesn't matter, and it would be dangerous because you would need to make sure that there's the same level of commitment into it. But I think there might be something in that if you trusted people enough. If there was a group that worked, I think that wouldn't be a bad way to de-risk the situation.
I've even thought of that. Like, I mean, I've even like printed with my logo on the door, look, just to kind of. Yeah. Anyway, I have thought about that, like collaborating with other resellers in the area to kind of. It's just a thought, like you've just had, really, that would you could have. I mean, if a lockup was, I don't know, £1,000 a month or something like that, 250 quid each is probably not a bad price to have a bigger area.
Yeah.
More knowledge in the room, essentially. And an office space that you could all work from if you needed to, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I got to head off, guys. I got to get ready. I'll speak to you all later.
Indeed. And next week I'll have more questions, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
It's all right. Interesting chat. I'll see you all later. Bye.
Yeah.
Right, see you, Sophie.
Bye.
Oh, I can't leave. There we go.
You can't leave. Bye. But now ultimately there are a few like resellers around here that I have spoken to and seen that I kind of, but I think they're all like low key and don't really have the hunger to expand either.
Yeah,
So
it's obviously dependent. It would need to be fleshed out, but I think it's a good idea. I mean, as you say, like if you split a rental 2, 3, 4 ways, assuming you found that group of people, which is obviously the main hurdle, I think there's some real benefits to it, and the costs of small scale storage rental are like pretty prohibitive, right? Unless you have your own garage. Moving out, if you go and speak to like a Big Yellow or any of those type storage companies, to have somewhere that's like, they're not great, they're not typically in good locations. So yeah, I think
I have quite
I'm surprised because I thought
working from there.
Yeah, exactly, right. Whereas I think if you actually had some sort of commercial lease that you could de-risk yourself from in terms of sharing it, I think that would be a really positive. I mean, I think where I am, it's probably too rural an area to find enough people to do it. But I'm surprised at Cambridge, because I thought Cambridge would probably host, a decent number of resellers, given that it's a fairly large place, right? And
I mean, I think the idea that I had as well is that storage place could be open to the public 1 or 2 days a week. So essentially, you would all your clothes or whatever you're selling would be on hangers or whatever, and then you would, in that area, which obviously could be marked out, then you would buy from that person and buy from that person. Now they would each have like a sum up account or whatever, and all on the desk too. You would go to leave, and then you would write down what it was, and then you divvy out that at the end of the day.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, yeah, I guess it depends on the usage of the unit. If it had like a commercial usage as a retail shop as well, that would be super, because between 3 or 4 of you, you assume that there's gonna be someone in the building at most times to kind of quote unquote man the shop. And even if as Sophie was saying, there's loads of stuff, like when you get into clothing, right, you end up with those bits that you just can't get rid of on eBay. And you could even just separate out the front of the unit as we'll put loads of stuff on racks here, and it will be a £10 a kilo, or undercutting the pre-loved or the by the kilo sellers, and then you'd invite people to come and just take, buy by the kilo or the bag or the bale or whatever, and you could have an outlet for the kind of crap you're not shifting on eBay.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, I think another, I think, real good benefit of operating in that kind of model would be you could justify some of the other expenses that probably seem like a bit of a luxury as a solo reseller. Things like daily Royal Mail collection. I mean, can you imagine, or whoever it is, but obviously there's a fee associated with Royal Mail.
Yeah,
I remember a couple of years ago it was about £1,000 a year. Well, if you split that 4 ways and you never had to go and deliver postage again because Royal Mail came to you and just took a bag of postage away, I mean, think about the time saved in that. As
wow, yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be so much longer than. I mean, it takes me about 20 minutes to get to the post office to every drop off and back in.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And that's
when I'm booking Royal Mail, there's no charge for collection. Is that because I've got a personal account, not a business account with Royal Mail?
Yeah, I think they're trying to incite a little bit of collection, or they certainly have been pushing that the last sort of year.
Yeah.
I think they've introduced a charge now, but it's really small. I think it might be like 50p on top, obviously because your postie is coming round and they're doing the rounds. But if you, as like a business, if you want to have a regular collection, I think you can book them either 5, like the working days, or 7-day. There is an annual charge for that, but you get a preferential postage rate. Obviously you don't pay that, whatever it is, 50p a charge, and I think you get a slightly better rate that's probably akin to what you get if you get a franking machine. And you need to be sending, I think, I can't remember, I remember doing the math back on it some time ago, looking at whether it was worth it, but you need to be sending at least sort of somewhere between 5 and 10 parcels a day to make it worth your while. But obviously there's a time saved element to that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was even when I was sort of in the 4,000 to 5,000 90-day mark, I was like probably half where that needed to be, so it was never going to be viable for me. But I think there's something in it just from a time save point of view, because like I know there's things like the the drop-off service at the post office, just the drop and goes, but like it drives me nuts. Like there's nothing worse than queuing up and dropping off your parcels at the post office to get your proof of postage, and that is like the whole postage is the worst.
The last couple of times I've just basically got there and about 20 items in a big IKEA bag, and then a guy just comes around the corner with one letter, and I go on then. you feel really guilty just being standing there, like
you can go do that. And then they walk up to the counter, gives them the letter, and they go, "Oh, while you're here, do you have a passport form?" And
exactly.
Form 1B, or they say, "Oh, I've got I've done that before." Someone's had a little parcel, like off you go, and then they go, "Oh, well, this is going to like Outer Mongolia. How do I do parcel?" And 30 minutes later, when they've figured out like the £3.90 postage for the postcard to their great granddaughter or something.
But you always got to do the
right thing. I was looking. I was looking at a Royal Mail account, a business account. I didn't look too closely into it because I noticed that they wanted at least 25 a week, which I don't use Royal Mail for everything. I use, I split it between them and Every. To be fair, the majority goes with Every. I know they've just got their prices up now again, aren't they?
They have,
275, but it's just more, cost effective. And in all honesty, I know a lot of people, don't particularly like to use Every, but I've never had an issue.
I've had a few.
I've had delays, but never, nothing's ever gone missing. But I use it through Patlink. So if there's been an issue, I've contacted them instead of Every. And to be fair, with Patlink customer services, they're pretty good at getting back to you. Yeah, but I've never had an issue with them. And the closest Every shop, it's literally a 10-minute walk from where I live. Now, if I use Royal Mail, it tends to be with the 48-hour track. but I can't drop off at the local post office for some reason. It's got to be at a customer service centre. Don't know, the post office won't accept them. They'll accept it if it's first or second class, but they won't accept a tracked 48 hour. It's got to be dropped off either in one of those larger parcels, or take it down to your local it's like a mail centre, which you know,
that surprises me.
It's only about 15. It's about a 15-minute drive. Yeah, but
I've never had any issues with the post offices around here taking them.
Yeah,
maybe they don't.
It depends on the post office and the whether they're an independent, like, you know how some are like independent post offices and some are actual like owned and managed by the post. It depends who the postmaster is, whether they're independent. The one near me does take them,
right,
like closest to my house, but there's also a customer service sorting centre which is even closer, and with a parcel bin outside. So I mean, I think you've got to you kind of do what make it work. So I've 99% of my stuff was Royal Mail, even though when every was back in the Hermes days, when it was a lot cheaper, just because it was more quick and convenient. I think you need to value your own time and stuff to, within reason, obviously, but I think there's not much in it. I think obviously on general, I think Royal Mail are a bit cheaper, but they do tend to run kind of offer periods where it kind of offsets it. So I think for me, I would, if we moved house again, I was just down the road from an every drop off, or whatever it is, I would transition to whatever's closest to me, to be honest with you, because I think the kind of logistics side, I think, again, that's the unskilled part of it, and I feel like you need to spend as little time as effort on stuff like that. Obviously, other than you need to make sure your due diligence is there in terms of cost and not just completely piss money into the wind. But I try and spend as little as time as I could with regard to the postage side. Just get them out as quickly as I can.
Yeah, I've got 22 to send this morning.
I've got 8, but I did send 6 on Saturday.
Right. Okay.
I sent Steve off down to the post, the mailing centre.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband's my packer and my delivery driver on a weekend.
You've outsourced to your husband. That's it. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Cool. Well, we're coming to the end of the hour, so I'll definitely have a look into that grouping together to get a lock up. Really.
Yeah. By the way, I'm so not interested in that. Like, as much as I think it was a good idea, I'm not selling myself for that. But I don't know. Might be something. In the back of my head, I was always thinking, you know what? If I lived near, obviously I socialise with a few for resellers and a few kind of WhatsApp groups. And I just think, if I lived in X or Y area, I think it would be a good model.
And it'd be fun, wouldn't it?
It's. Well, again, there is obviously a kind of lack of social part of the job. You can share expertise. I think there's being able to share best practice and like even get into whether or not you want to go down too far down the rabbit hole, but you could even almost like, if you were committed to the same amount in terms of listings and whatever, you could almost income share, if you really want to go that far down the route. Look, I'm going off on holiday for a week, but my kind of business partner's going to be in the lockup, so there's still going to be money coming in. So like that part of the, when you go down the full-time route, if you don't want to take holidays because you've got no income, well, actually, if you're working as part of a partnership, you can almost de-risk each other in that way.
Yeah, you don't have to shut up shop, really, do you?
Or at least you don't have to put on holiday mode. Someone else you could give someone access to your account that could fire out your packages or whatever. I think there's a lot of benefits to it if you can get that, but obviously relies on a lot of things. I think most notably finding the right people to share that risk with. I think that's the biggest thing, but I think there's something there because commercial leases are not cheap.
No.
In the slightest.
Back.
It's back on. I think we're going to wrap up anyway in a minute.
I just wanted to see whether you were like still here because I've just got showered and changed in the space of like 10 minutes. I was really chuffed with myself. So I just thought I'm going to see if you're still here.
So
I'll be done that in 10 minutes.
we've all decided. We've all decided that us four are going to be in a big group of partners, and we're all going to work from an office.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah, I'm down for that. I don't know where we're going to locate this. Where are we going to locate this office, though? Everyone's pretty far.
Yeah, I know. I'm only joking.
A bit spread out.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's been fun. It's been a good chat.
We could have a virtual office.
Yeah. Well, essentially, we have already, look, on Zoom.
Yeah. Virtual office. All right, then. Well, I'll say goodbye again.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later. See you next week.
Yeah, now I'm going to get off now. I've got to go and pick some cardboard boxes up.
Almost an hour's worth, which is pretty decent. So, well, thanks, guys. Hope your week goes well. And if you're about next Monday, then we'll have to do it again.
Yep. Okay, then. Thank you.
Cool.
See you
Thanks,
later.
guys. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Sharon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.